If you show up at this wedding, I'll have security remove you before you even reach the front entrance." My mother's voice was so cold that for a second, I thought someone else had picked up her phone. But then she said the sentence that divided my life into a before and an after. "Claire, you're not welcome at your sister's wedding." I couldn't speak. 4 days remained until Emily's extravagant wedding at one of Manhattan's most luxurious hotels. Crystal chandeliers had already been installed. Celebrity chefs had been hired. Hundreds of guests were flying in from across the country. Every relative, every family friend, every business partner had received a beautifully embossed invitation, except me. My name is Claire Morgan. I'm 32 years old, a corporate attorney in New York, and for most of my life I believed that family always came first. When my father passed away 6 years earlier, I worked overtime to help my mother keep our home. I quietly paid part of Emily's college tuition when she nearly dropped out. I never asked for recognition. I simply believed that loyalty eventually came back to you. I was wrong. "Why?" I finally whispered. There was a long silence before my mother answered. "Because your presence would ruin everything." Those 6 words hit harder than any courtroom defeat I'd ever experienced. "What did I do?" "You know exactly why." "No, I honestly don't." She sighed impatiently. "Emily doesn't want you there. That's all you need to know. Don't make this harder than it already is." The call ended before I could say another word. For almost 20 minutes, I sat frozen in my apartment, staring at an old photograph of Emily and me, building a sandcastle during a family vacation in Cape Cod. Anyone looking at that picture would think we had been inseparable sisters. They would never see the invisible competition that had existed since childhood, or how my mother had always found a way to make Emily the center of every celebration while I quietly disappeared into the background. By that evening, I convinced myself to let it go. I canceled my hotel reservation, hung my navy blue dress back in the closet, and accepted an extra case at work for Saturday, the wedding day. If they wanted me erased from their happiest moment, maybe disappearing was the kindest thing I could do. The next morning, just as I stepped into my office elevator, my phone vibrated. The message wasn't from my mother. It wasn't from Emily. It was from Daniel. "Claire, Emily can't know I contacted you. We need to meet today, before it's too late." I stared at Daniel's message for nearly a full minute, convinced I was misreading it. "Claire, Emily can't know I contacted you. We need to meet today, before it's too late." My first instinct was to ignore him. He was my sister's fiancé. Whatever was happening between them had nothing to do with me anymore. At least that's what I wanted to believe. Then another message appeared. "Please, just 30 minutes. You'll finally understand why your mother wanted you gone." My stomach tightened. Those words echoed in my head during the entire drive to work. Why your mother wanted you gone. Gone from the wedding? Or gone from something much bigger? At noon, I left my office and drove to a quiet cafe overlooking the Hudson River. Daniel was already there, sitting alone in the far corner. He looked nothing like the confident man I'd met during the engagement party 6 months earlier. His tie was loosened, dark circles surrounded his eyes, and his untouched coffee had long since gone cold. The moment I sat down, he looked around as if he expected someone to be watching us. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. "What is this about?" Instead of answering, he reached into his briefcase and slid a sealed envelope across the table. "I need you to keep this." I didn't touch it. "What is it?" "If anything happens before Saturday, open it." A chill ran through my body. "Daniel, you're scaring me." "I know." "Then tell me what's going on." He lowered his voice. "Claire, your family has been lying to me since the day I proposed. For several seconds, I couldn't breathe." "What kind of lie?" He shook his head. "If I tell you everything now, you'll confront your mother. And if you do that, they'll destroy the only proof I have." "Proof? Proof of what?" "I don't understand." "You will." He glanced nervously toward the cafe entrance before leaning closer. "Promise me one thing." "What?" "No matter what your mother says over the next few days, don't leave New York." His words sent another wave of unease through me. Before I could ask another question, his phone rang. The color drained from his face the instant he looked at the screen. "It's Emily," he whispered. He rejected the call immediately. Then it rang again, and again. By the 4th call, he stood up so suddenly that his chair nearly fell over. "I have to go." "Daniel." He stopped for only a second. "If I disappear before the wedding," he looked directly into my eyes, "that envelope will explain everything." Then he walked out of the cafe without looking back. I stared at the sealed envelope in my hands. my heartbeat growing louder with every passing second. Just as I slipped it into my purse, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my mother. "Stay away from Daniel. This is your final warning." I didn't sleep that night. The envelope sat on my kitchen counter like it was alive, silently daring me to break Daniel's instructions. Every time I walked past it, I wanted to tear it open, but his words kept echoing in my mind. "If anything happens before Saturday, open it." Something told me he wasn't being dramatic. He was afraid. The next morning, I buried myself in work, hoping the distraction would calm my thoughts. It didn't. Around 10 o'clock, my phone lit up with a notification from Instagram. Emily had posted another wedding update. She was smiling beside Daniel during what looked like their rehearsal dinner tasting. Hundreds of comments poured in beneath the photos. Perfect couple. Fairy tale wedding. Relationship goals. I almost laughed. If people could have seen Daniel's face in that cafe yesterday, they would have realized none of those smiles were real. An hour later, my assistant walked into my office. "Claire, there's a woman downstairs asking for you." "I don't have an appointment." She said it's family. My stomach dropped. Through the glass wall, I saw my mother standing in the lobby. She had never visited my office before. Not once. I met her downstairs. The moment we were alone, she grabbed my arm much harder than she ever had when I was a child. "You met Daniel." It wasn't a question. I slowly pulled my arm away. "Who told you that?" "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me." Her eyes filled with something I'd never seen before. Not anger, fear. "Listen to me carefully, Claire." "I'm listening." "Whatever he told you." "He barely told me anything." "Good." She exhaled with visible relief. "Because he's confused. He's under a lot of stress. Weddings do that to people." I stared at her. "You drove across Manhattan just to tell me that?" Her expression hardened. "No." She reached into her designer handbag and placed a check on the table beside me. $25,000. I looked at the number twice. "What is this?" "Take it." "For what?" "Leave New York today." I looked back at her, convinced I'd heard her wrong. "You want to pay me to disappear? I'm asking you to protect this family." "No." I pushed the check back toward her. "You're trying to buy my silence." For a split second, her carefully controlled expression cracked. Then she leaned closer. "If you love your sister even a little..." "Don't finish that sentence." She froze, because for the first time in my life, I held her gaze without blinking. I'm starting to think none of this is about Emily. Her face turned completely pale. Without another word, she grabbed the check and walked away. I watched her disappear through the revolving doors. A few seconds later, my phone vibrated. It wasn't Daniel. It was an unknown number. I answered. A trembling female voice whispered only 7 words before the call disconnected. "Don't trust your mother. She's watching you too." I replayed that mysterious phone call at least 20 times. "Don't trust your mother. She's watching you too." Before I could call the number back, it had already been disconnected. No voicemail, no name, nothing. For the first time, I wasn't just hurt. I was scared. That evening, I drove home using 3 different routes, convinced someone was following me. Every black SUV I noticed in my rearview mirror made my pulse race. When I finally reached my apartment building, I froze. Someone had been inside. Nothing had been stolen. Nothing was broken. But my living room had been searched. The drawers were slightly open. The picture frames had been moved. Even the books on my shelf were no longer in the order I'd left them. Whoever came wasn't looking for money. They were looking for something specific. My heart skipped a beat. The envelope. I rushed to the kitchen. It was gone. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Daniel's only evidence had disappeared. I searched every room anyway, hoping I had hidden it somewhere else. Nothing. Then I noticed something strange. A small yellow sticky note had been left on my kitchen counter. Only 4 words were written across it. "Too late, Claire." My hands began to shake. Without thinking, I grabbed my phone and called Daniel. Straight to voicemail. I called again. And again. No answer. 10 minutes later, I drove to his apartment. The building manager recognized him immediately. "I'm sorry," he said. "Mr. Carter checked out this afternoon." "Checked out?" "He emptied the apartment." "Where did he go?" "I don't know." Every answer created 2 more questions. I walked back toward my car, feeling as though the ground beneath me had disappeared. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around. An elderly woman stood there holding a small package. "Are you Claire?" "Yes." "He asked me to give you this, if anyone came looking for him." My heart stopped. When? This afternoon. She handed me a plain brown box before quietly walking away. Inside was a flash drive. Nothing else. No letter. No explanation. Just a tiny silver USB drive. I rushed home and connected it to my laptop. One folder appeared. Its name was Open Only If They Silence Me. My hands trembled as I clicked it. Dozens of files filled the screen. Bank statements, property records, private emails, voice recordings, and one video. The thumbnail showed my mother sitting across from Daniel in a private office. The timestamp was only 3 days old. I pressed play. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then my mother's voice broke the silence. I'll pay you whatever you want. Just don't marry Emily. The blood drained from my face. Nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what Daniel said next. I'm not canceling the wedding because of Emily. I'm canceling it because of Claire. For several seconds, I couldn't breathe. Daniel looked directly at my mother and repeated the sentence that changed everything. I'm canceling this wedding because of Claire. My mother stared at him in disbelief. What are you talking about? Daniel calmly opened another folder. 6 months ago, I noticed too many things that didn't add up. Every time Claire's name came up, both of you changed the subject. So I hired a private investigator. My mother's face turned pale. The investigation uncovered years of financial records, emails, and recorded conversations. He pushed a stack of papers across the table. You've been lying to both of your daughters. My heart pounded as I watched the video. Daniel continued. Claire believed she was the forgotten daughter, while Emily believed she deserved everything. Neither of them knew you were manipulating both sides to keep complete control over this family. Then another recording began. Emily's voice filled the room. Mom said if Claire ever learned the truth, she'd stop paying our bills. We can't let that happen. I closed my eyes. For 6 years, I had helped with medical expenses, paid off family debts, and even contributed thousands of dollars toward Emily's dream wedding, not because they loved me, because they needed me. The wedding day finally arrived. More than 300 guests filled the ballroom, expecting a perfect ceremony. Instead, Daniel walked onto the stage alone. Without saying a word, he connected a laptop to the giant screen. One by one, every recording played. The lies, the manipulation, the hidden money transfers, the conversations between my mother and Emily. The room fell completely silent. Some guests looked shocked. Others quietly walked out. Emily burst into tears and ran from the ballroom before the ceremony even began. My mother tried to stop Daniel, but by then it was too late. Everyone had already seen the truth. I never entered the wedding. I watched everything from outside the hotel through a glass window. For the first time in my life, I realized something. Revenge isn't always about destroying people. Sometimes, it's about letting the truth destroy the lies they spent years protecting. 3 months later, I received a handwritten letter from Daniel. Inside, there was only one sentence. The strongest person in that family was never the bride. It was the woman they spent years trying to erase. I folded the letter, smiled, and walked away without looking back. They lost their luxury wedding. They lost their reputation. But the greatest loss was something they could never replace. They lost the only daughter who had ever truly loved them.